Okay, as you see, it's dried up really lightly and just tinted the background to create some more interest and to loosen everywhere up. I haven't masked anything at all within the flowers, but I have popped some masking fluid on my pot because I want to make sure that I indicate the actual the hard shine that you see in a vessel. So that's something that you can either do or work around or lift back off, but I think it's easier to actually just pop on a little bit of masking. Okay, so I'm starting with this central daffodil. Sorry, got daffodils on the mind. On this tulip, popping down, because I'm using yellow, the yellow first. But while that's damp, I'm going to pop in some of my orange that I have there. It's a transparent orange. And I'm going to keep the whole thing nice and bright if I can, and pop some Cadbury red on the top of that. So I'm not looking for any detail. And I'm going to let that water and the paint largely work for me. Just working around the stamens a little bit there, but they're darker, so it won't matter if I actually paint over the top. I can paint over the top of those. So letting the paint run and make its own way. I also have some alizarin out for even deeper tones here. And I'm going to keep painting and not judge until it's dry, and try not to go back over myself too much, just creating those nice shapes. Surprising how much nicer it is if you actually will manage to leave it to dry on its own, and then to go back, just lifting out there, a little bit of light. But then to go back at the end if you need to fix anything up. Surprising how I've kind of got out of it just having 2 weeks away from doing these things. Seemed like a longer time to me. Following the patterning that I see on the tulip in front of me, but not obviously precisely. Okay, so Naples yellow, don't worry if one petal bleeds into the next. We're not looking for accuracy, we're just keeping it nice and loose. Don't forget the lifting off technique while it's still wet. It's a very helpful way of just bringing some light back in, and you can always have another brush waiting to do that, so that you don't have to use too wet a brush or to wash away any paint that you've already got on your brush. Right. Making some quite nice marks for me. I think I'll keep the inside of that petal there light, looking for contrast. Okay, I'm going to leave that one, apart from maybe just lifting out a little bit more at the base here. Helping with the shape and the form. Right, I've got a stronger one there and a more open one here. Well, slightly more open. It's opened a lot more since I put it in the vase. So I think I'm actually going to try with some Japonica at the moment, and then maybe stop, do a bit more, as you've seen the technique for the tulip, and then hopefully if I stop and start, you can continue to see the whole thing until it's finished. Right, I've got Rose Madder here. It's a pink I don't use very often, but it's quite nice for this Japonica. I think I'll work wet on wet again. One flower tends to run into the next, so keeping a little bit of definition if you can. And I've got another pink that I very rarely use, and that's Opera Rose. I use the permanent rose a lot, but not so much this very, very bright Opera Rose colour. But as I'm working on a nice bright flower today, I thought I'd bring it out. I might just let that go a little bit and indicate a bit more maybe behind there. Just let it grow and see what you feel like doing as you go through your picture. It looks quite pretty, but it will dry up light. I'm not going to know what I've got until more or less the end of my painting, at least when it's dry. Got quite a dark area inside there. Some ultramarine blue. can get the alizarin going in these as well if you end up painting Japonica any time, just for the deeper areas. Right. I've got quite large brushes so that I don't fiddle and get too detailed. But if you feel overwhelmed using a larger brush, then go for a smaller one. Such a pretty flower. Right. I can go back and put a little bit more definition in if I feel it needs it when it's dry, but I'm going to allow everything to dry before I decide. Now, as always, leaving little touches of white paper to bring the light in. It's difficult when one flower is sitting in front of another, but as it dries I think you'll see the definition a little bit more. That's why it's good to sort of paint each individual one and each individual petal as you go round. Then the definition starts to show up a bit better as it dries. And largely I'm ignoring my pencil lines because I don't want to sort of just follow those too rigidly, because that stops the freedom somehow. Right, I'm going to stop and do a bit more because I've been going for over 20 minutes I think already.